I've been shocked by how undemocratic the Democratic Party can be.
Tell me, what do you mean by, I don't disagree with you necessarily, but what do you mean by that?
By putting their foot on the scales to get, make sure that Hillary Clinton comes out of the thing, or make sure that, that they're listening to that anger.
Shocked, I tell you, to find out that gambling has been going on in here. You're winning, sir. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Good morning. Hey, guys. It's Monday, sorry. Welcome to the Wake Up America show, the only show that's brave enough to talk about what the media won't, and sarcastic enough to keep you from screaming into a throw pillow when you see stuff like that. Hey, guys. Oh my God, it's Peppermint Patty, says Thormock. What's happening, guys? Relaxium, McGroin feeling very relaxed. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Click that like button. It's your host, Austin Petersen, broadcasting from the heart of Missouri, where liberty still means something. And yes, my 1-year-old daughter, Hazel, just had her very first birthday party this weekend. Yeah. And folks, on a serious note, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart and Steffi's. We were blown away by your generosity, whether it was a book, a bib, or a tiny libertarian Don't Tread on Me onesie. Hazel's all set for the revolution. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Everybody who's part of this community who helps support this little, 3-person family, you're kind of part of our extended family in a way, because so many of you guys pitched in and helped us to throw a great birthday party for little Hazel. And if you couldn't be there with us in person, you were absolutely there for us in spirit. People like L-Dubs for sure. Thanks, L-Dubs. Now, enough sweetness. Let's talk about how corrupt, broken, and utterly bonkers your ruling class has become. Yay! Or boo, I don't know. We headline today with the conservative civil war, Dan Bongino versus Pam Bondi. It's like the political version of Hulk Hogan versus Randy Savage, except instead of muscles, we've got memos. Instead of a steel chair they're beating each other over the head with, it's the Epstein files that don't exist, but are a Democrat plant and also don't exist. Dan Bongino, former FBI deputy director, Rumble streamer, Trump insider, and unofficial spokesman for the I Know Where the Bodies Are Buried Club, has officially broken ranks, you might say. Is he official or is it unofficial? He went after AG Pam Bondi, like she kind of personally canceled his gym membership, according to insider reports, because Bondi's DOJ released a memo saying there is no clients list. Just a minor detail. So sorry we lost the list of the most powerful perverts on this planet. Our bad. But Bongino posted very cryptically that what he has learned as the deputy director of the FBI shook him to his core. And if you've ever seen Dan Bongino, he's not a guy who shakes easy. That's a man who once bench pressed a CNN producer out of sheer principle. Now MAGA world is kind of in chaos on this one, because it's one thing when Democrats deny you transparency, but when your own people are covering for the rich and powerful, that hits different. And just when you thought it couldn't get any more surreal, Ghislaine Maxwell just spent 2 days being grilled by the deputy AG, Todd Blanche. So her lawyer says that she was asked about 100 people connected to Epstein. 100 people. That's a networking event from hell if you went to that one. Her lawyer, David Oscar Marcus, held a press conference and said, brace yourself, she didn't plead the fifth. She didn't invoke privilege. She didn't hold anything back. I mean, she's either flipping like an Olympic gymnast or she's rehearsing for sainthood. Now, officially, she didn't ask for a pardon, but Marcus did add that we hope the president exercises his power in just the right way. Exorcise the demons, which in DC speak is kind of like, we scratched your back, now pardon the felon.
What would be the reaction if he actually went through and did some form of clemency, granted some form of clemency to Ghislaine Maxwell? Congressman Khanna?
Well, I think people would say, why is he doing that? And can we really believe Maxwell's testimony? I mean, I don't love the broad pardon power in the first place. I think it has been abused. I think at this point, though, what the American people desperately need is for all of the evidence and the files to come out so they can decide for themselves. So they're not relying on Maxwell. So they're not relying on even congressional committees. Let the American people decide.
And how would you react to a pardon or a clemency?
I don't think she deserves that or needs that. I mean, she's guilty of crimes, but it's hard to believe that she herself and Epstein did these crimes by themselves, right?
Yeah.
So it's time to find out who else was involved. And I agree with Roe here. The bank records don't lie. The documents don't lie. They don't change. The plea bargains that have been sealed don't lie. Let's release those.
Do you realize what would happen if you or I were involved in a trafficking scheme? Like how well connected all these people are in order to be able to pull this off? It's a conspiracy. It's a legit. It's okay, guys. It's all right to, you're not conspiracy theorizing around. You just do not pull operations like that off. It's like suggesting that the atomic bombing of Japan was done by Harry S. Truman and Mr. Oppenheimer, and those two alone. There were some other people involved. Hey, don't let the joking nature of this podcast undermine the serious nature of the reporting that we do over here. Because a lot of times when you watch the Wake Up America show, you may think that the silly sound effects may belie a contentless podcast, but I can assure you there's a lot of content here. There's a lot of news here. And what you're hearing on the Wake Up America show is something you're going to hear on other podcasts in a day or so and on the legacy media a week or two from now. Good morning to Matt Unruh, Jimmy Joe Patty, Quest Fanning, T-Mill 22, and all of our friends over there at Rumble. Don't forget to click the like button, guys. We're going to talk about this morning as well, pivoting from the swamp to the schoolroom, because apparently Michigan lawmakers want to bring back cursive writing. Let's hear it for Michigan. That's right. While Gen Z is busy, typing in emojis, they've gone back to Sanskrit, or no, not Sanskrit. What is it? Cuneiform? Is that what they call it? They've gone back to hieroglyphics. That's what it is. Somebody in the state capital of Michigan says, hey, maybe we should teach kids how to read the Declaration of Independence as it was written. No. And what? Bring back cooking your meat with fire. Michigan's House Bill 4675 encourages districts to bring cursive back by 2027. Because here's the dirty little secret about digital literacy. When the grid goes down, your iPad won't save you, but a handwritten letter might. And honestly, I'm all for it because as much as I love nostalgia, teaching cursive, I think, is not as much about nostalgia as it is about connection. A society that can't write its name, can't sign a contract, read history, or pass on tradition. That's why tyrants always start with the schools. We're going to break down what it really means, why the return to cursive might be a cultural signal that America's waking up, even if it's just one little loopy letter at a time. I posted on my Instagram page yesterday a word. Let's see if there's, if you're not following my Instagram these days, it's just been blowing up like crazy, but I posted this picture yesterday and I said Zoomers only, which just goes to show that we need more literacy training because a lot of people who are not Zoomers were participating in this. So, Zoomers only. Take a look at the picture that you see on your screen right now. Don't look at the text to the right. Just look at the picture on that piece of paper. Don't cheat. And you tell me, what does that word say right there? I'm going to give you the Squid Game countdown, and you tell me, what is that word? Can you read it out loud? See that word on your screen right there? For those who are listening to the audio version of this podcast later, they are really going to suffer because they're hearing my voice. They're hearing this story. It's very juicy. I've set it up for them. I'm explaining the concept, the context, but right now they're getting an audio cue where there is no visual cue, and you are getting both. You juicy, juicy listener. Whoever is listening to the Wake Up America show live right now, I just want to pat you on the back, give you a cup of Founding Flavors coffee. and say thank you for joining us. People like Nelson65 or our friend Petit Troyanon. Good evening. Nice to see you there, mon frere. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. And if you said the word minimum, then you were correct. If you said it and you were not a Zoomer, then you were incorrect. Because I said Zoomers only. After everybody learns cursive again, then we're going back to comprehension. At 8 o'clock this morning, we got a fantastic guest joining us live at 8 a.m. Central, Jon Miltimore, one of the most thoughtful commentators on culture and liberty. And today we're going to be responding to a Wall Street Journal piece about the quiet death of gentle parenting. Honestly, if you're a parent, you get an opinion on this one. Apparently, Gen Z parents of Gen Z, millennials are starting to institute a new regime that they're calling FAFO parenting. Have you heard of this FAFO parenting? It's a new parenting trend based on an old parenting trend of F around and find out. You want to F around? Well, you're going to find out. FAFO parenting. I love it. Yes, it means exactly what you think it does. The message is that kids need consequences for the bad behavior. They don't need 5 emotional check-ins before they brush their teeth. They need to know what happens when you lie, when you steal, when you scream in a grocery store, or you hit your sibling with a Lego brick. Am I right, parents? Parents only. Thormock says, whoop their asses. Well, then you're probably going to be on my side of this. And Jon Miltimore, I imagine, is going to be like, oh, we just take our beautiful children into the field and then we just like brush them with a flower lovingly. Or we play that prank on them where they pretend to blow a dandelion, but then we push it in their mouth until they choke on the little dandelion. What do they call them? Poofs? Puffs? Oh. What a terrible crime. My dad washed my mouth out with soap when I said bad words. He cringes when I say a bad word. I'm like, I learned it from you, Dad. Where do you think I learned it? I learned it from watching you and listening to you. If you're old, you'll remember that commercial. Where did you get this? From you, Dad. I learned it by watching you. We talk to your parents. BB for Liberty says that my mom was huge on FAFO parenting. Well, that's why you ended up not being retarded, Brad. That's how you ended up crawling out of the sludge of humanity and like the rest of us and who are civilized. And then you have all these uncivilized people walking around because their parents didn't beat their asses. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. But you know what? Jon Miltimore is going to disagree with me on this. He's going to say, he's going to come, we're all going to sing together. He's going to sing Kumbaya. He's like libertarian, gentle parenting. If you don't hurt the kids, they won't hurt you, which strikes me as naive. But no, now we're talking about foreign policy. Okay. So we're going to talk to Jon. Is this just an internet backlash to some of the behavior that we see? Or, are we witnessing a real return to structure and responsibility and, dare I say it, discipline? All right, so just before we roll into the first segment, don't forget today's bonus segment unlocks if we raise just $75. You can hit that with Rumble Rants or by shopping at forlibertyshop.com. Today would be a great day to become a Founding Flavors coffee subscriber. I'm going to be hitting that hard. You get bold Liberty roasted goodness shipped to your door, and we get to keep producing the show that drives bureaucrats crazy. It's a win-win. Today's the day, guys. Help to unlock that bonus content. Get yourself a box of coffee. Grab your mug, call in sick, wake the kids unless they're negotiating their feelings about the alarm clock. This is Wake Up America. Let's get to work, guys. We're going to have a beautiful day. And it's not just any coffee that we sell at forlibertyshop.com. We roll our eyes and cynically slap a label on it and ship it out to our customers. No, there's a reason why when you go to forlibertyshop.com that our independently verified reviews have shown that we consistently produce excellent coffee. I know a lot of people are not coffee drinkers. That's fine. We have tea for you. For Liberty, obviously. But at forlibertyshop.com, what I want to ask you guys today to do, if you've put 4.8 or 4.9 or 4.8 stars on some of these 5 stars, and some of these coffees, you should become a monthly subscriber. And today is a great day to do it. You'll help to unlock the bonus content if you do it while the show is live. And you're guaranteed to not run out of coffee. It's going to come in when you want it, which can be every month, can be 2 months, 3 months, or it can be like some people, for the love of God, we have got people who get this stuff every 2 weeks because they got to have it. Andy Opperman went to a diner or something when he was on vacation. He's like, God, he's like, this coffee is terrible. How many times have you sat down at a diner and said to yourself, geez, I could be drinking Jeffersonian Java right now? So help to unlock that bonus content, guys. And if you've never visited forlibertyshop.com, why not do it? Visit the shop today. I'm not saying you have to buy something, but if you visit For Liberty Shop today, this is reminding me of Happy Gilmore 2 from the weekend. If you visit the Liberty Shop today, you may find something else that you really like as well. All right, let's hit the top segment. Bongino versus Bondi. This is kind of I won't say a scandal that's erupting. I will just say that the conflict that is apparent is bubbling up to the surface. When you have Dan Bongino posting cryptic tweets like he used to when he was a podcaster, but now he's actually the deputy director of the FBI, eyebrows must be raised. Eyebrows, if you could see them under my Katz's Deli hat. There we go. The political equivalent, I would say, of a pro wrestling heel turn. Former FBI deputy director turned conservative icon Dan Bongino allegedly has blown up his relationship with Pam Bondi, from what we're hearing on the inside. So I know what you're thinking, right? Bongino, Bondi, they're on the same team. Well, apparently they were until last week. So here's the context. Bongino went public after a private confrontation at the White House over the DOJ's botched release of Epstein's files. Apparently Bondi issues a memo here saying there's no client list, which is kind of like saying Area 51 is just a weather balloon repair site. Bongino's words that he posted publicly over on X is that what I've learned shocked me to my core. Now, one of two things is probably happening. One, this is his podcaster speaking, because what I've learned shocked me to my core is a fantastic title for a podcast, and I need to start taking notes. What I've learned shocked me to my core. Clicky, 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 clicky. What did you learn? I learned I needed to visit the Griff Shop at forlibertyshop.com and buy coffee. Damn, he got me again. Damn that Austin and his delicious coffee. But here's another piece of context for you, very juicy, is that Dan Bongino has since missed multiple days at the FBI. Sources say he may resign or be forced out if he continues bucking the authority, as he is in a tenuous position, considering that the president has very, very strongly supported Pam Bondi. But he's also very, very strongly supported people in the past that he then fired the next day. Something's off, though, when the guy who used to stand behind the Resolute desk with a Glock suddenly acts like he saw something that he wasn't supposed to. So he's either teasing out his eventual breaking open publicly with the story, acting in something of a whistleblower, or he's just announcing essentially his return to podcasting, which one is very exciting, one is very, I don't know, bad trombone. We got some new champion jackets last week at the shop, says Brad. I'm biased, but they look really sharp. They are super sharp. So if fall is coming, you want a little rain-resistant jacket, then do yourself a favor and get one of our champion jackets at the Griff Shop. All right, so what is the client list, right? It's the list. They say there's all these discussions about it's a list or it's files or they get dropped the Epstein list. Well, there is no list. Well, there's 100 names now that Ghislaine Maxwell has apparently spilled. But the list was always allegedly a roster of powerful men, some women, politicians, businessmen, celebrities who flew on Epstein's plane or visited his island. And we know for a fact that Bill Clinton flew on the plane over 20 times. Bill Gates flew tons of times. That Bill Gates' ex-wife cited the weird relationship with Jeffrey Epstein as one of the reasons for their divorce. And he apparently held himself like the ability to cheat once a year with an ex-girlfriend. Very strange behavior. But again, the elites of this world hold themselves to different standards than the poor and the middle class in this world do. So Bondi says there's no list. That's all just an urban legend. Bongino, along with most of Trump's base, I would suggest, think there is. And some of these names might be close to or in power right now. If there's no client list, why is every rich guy in D.C. suddenly Googling what's the extradition treaty with Argentina? Well, not everybody who's looking to move into Argentina is doing so because of the island boys. The Department of Justice released a, quote, full video from Epstein's jail suicide attempt, except that there's a 1-minute cut right before the moment where he allegedly tried to hang himself. It was a technical error. I say the Watergate had better technology in the 1970s than our jails do in the 2000s. Isn't that amazing? Luke Sacker says, LOL, it's Paraguay or nothing, I guess. Hey, Luke. You don't get to say oops when the nation's most infamous sex trafficker dies in federal custody, and the footage looks like it was edited by a sleepy TikToker. And I don't know how, what the veracity of the reports that I have read, but I have read from several sources that are not what you would call necessarily 100% credible sources, at least what I would offer to you and say this is strict proof. But what I have seen reported is that the footage that came out of the jail was allegedly edited using Adobe Premiere, which is what I use to edit every day. I'm not saying it was me because it wasn't me. I'm just saying that if that's the case and they didn't scrub their metadata, that's sus. So House Republicans might subpoena Bondi. Bongino is reportedly being blocked from testifying. Trump himself, eerily silent, says shut up about it, shut the F up about it, focus on all of the most sweet, sweet tariff money that I'm extracting from American citizens. But the Speaker of the House says this.
She, of course, has been convicted of grooming, recruiting, abusing young teenage girls along with Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. Speaker, Maxwell's attorney said she answered all questions honestly and truthfully, but do you think that Ghislaine Maxwell can be trusted?
Well, I mean, look, it's a good question. I hope so. I hope that she would want to come clean. We certainly are interested in knowing everything that she knows. And as you'll note, in our House Republican majority, we're working towards that. Chairman Comer and our Oversight Committee has already issued their own subpoena. They want to bring in Ghislaine Maxwell as well. I hope she's telling the truth. She is convicted. She is serving a 20-year sentence for child sex trafficking. And so her character is in some question. But if she wants to come clean now, that would be a great service to the country, and we'd like to know every single bit of information that she has. I certainly hope she's telling the truth.
Well, he's definitely not on the list. I can tell. You want to know how I can tell? Because he wouldn't be saying that. That's how you guys know if somebody's on the list or not on the list. How, Speaker Johnson, you may not like him for other reasons, but guess what? He's not on the Epstein list.
Well, listen, this week, President Trump didn't rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. Of course, that's one of the big questions looming over all of this. So let me put this to you, Mr. Speaker. Would you support a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell, a convicted sex trafficker?
Well, I mean, obviously that's a decision of the president. He said he had not adequately considered that. I won't get in front of him. That's not my lane. My lane is to help direct and control the House of Representatives and to use every tool within our arsenal to get to the truth. I'm going to say this as clearly and plainly and repeatedly as I can over and over. We are for maximum disclosure. We want all transparency. I trust the American people. I and the House Republicans believe that they should have all this information to be able to determine what they will. But we have to protect the innocent, and that's the only safeguard here that we've got to be diligent about, and I'm insistent upon doing so.
He is not on the Epstein list. Yes, the video of Jeffrey Epstein's holding cell had more missing time than a Joe Biden interview. There we go. Remember all those interviews they did with Joe Biden, and then there was all those hours and hours that just never made it. So Ghislaine Maxwell, so she, like Speaker Johnson was saying, currently rotting in prison for trafficking underage girls to elite creeps, wrapped 2 days of interviews with the Department of Justice, and she didn't plead the fifth. Like the videos that you saw of Jeffrey Epstein, she talked for hours. Maxwell is currently serving 20 years in Tallahassee Federal Prison. She met with Deputy AG Todd Blanche for 2 full days last week. 100 plus names were reportedly discussed, ranging from royalty to billionaires to politicians. So now there is an Epstein list now. And she's believed to be angling for a pardon if Trump wins in 2028, guys. That'll be the next one. You guys looking forward to a fourth Donald Trump term? Hey, FDR did it. What do you mean fourth? Was there a second? No, remember he won in 2020, guys. Don't forget that. Come on, guys. Get your conspiracies straight here. So if Ghislaine Maxwell ends up getting get out of jail free card, that will be the world's most evil get out of jail free card that might have ever been issued. Hey, Alexa, what's the DOJ's version of Black Friday? Answer: trading Epstein dirt for immunity. So what is Ghislaine Maxwell offering? According to people familiar with the talks, flight logs with annotations, financial connections to shell companies, testimony on who knew what and when they knew it. Remember, it's very important to know who knew what and when they knew it. Many people who were connected to Epstein, if you'll remember, have stated that, oh, yes, well, they cut ties with him back in right? Well, Ghislaine Maxwell will be able to verify that if Bill Clinton cut ties with Jeffrey Epstein when they knew. And of course, the MAGA people are fond of saying that Donald Trump cut ties with Jeffrey Epstein after he tried to get handsy with a masseuse at Mar-a-Lago. And I'm willing to believe them, mostly because of the evidence that I've read that doesn't point to Donald Trump to being interested in underage girls. I've never been able to find anything in that other than left-wing blogs accusing him of such. And if I thought that Donald Trump was guilty of such a thing, I absolutely would be reporting on it. But I think it's important, of course, to address that elephant in the room and discuss it and talk about it, because a lot of people accuse Trump of that. And they say, well, why did Donald Trump not release it? It's because he's on it, et cetera, et cetera. Elon Musk accused him of such. Some people who are very angry about the lack of results from the Trump administration for whatever issues that they hold near and dear to their chest are accusing Donald Trump of doing awful things. But I've never been able to see evidence other than he was spotted in the same room at the same parties with Jeffrey Epstein, which, noting that there are maybe 123 billionaires who live in New York City, they probably all hang out with each other on a regular basis, because hanging out with the normal people is really weird for them.
Obviously, our current president has had relationships with Epstein in the past, and there are those Katie Johnson and maybe other victims who have accused Trump of being involved in things like this. In my experience, Trump supporters will not listen to anything along those lines. Obviously, we're not a court of law here right now, but are those claims, though that case was dropped, it was dropped before it went to court. In your opinion as a lawyer and your experience, is there anything you can say as to the validity of those claims, or whether or not there will be any more about that?
Nothing at all. The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009. So,
do you know if there's any truth to James Patterson's claims that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago?
I've definitely heard that.
Yeah, well, it's all hearsay. Ooh, excuse me. It's all hearsay, of course, until we can actually get the list of names. But it is looking as if there will be around 100 names that will be released if they do release it. The Department of Justice, how could they get a list of 100 names from Ghislaine Maxwell and not follow up on these things? So what are they getting? Ghislaine Maxwell is offering flight logs, financial connections, and the most important thing, who knew what and when. House Oversight Chair James Comer has confirmed he's scheduling a deposition with her for August. Who do you think is nervous right now? Prince Andrew is definitely pooping his pants, because right now, all we know about Prince Andrew is the relationship that he had with Virginia Giuffre, who is now dead, died from a mysterious vehicular accident. Very mysteriously. Things, of course, do happen to people randomly, but it's very interesting how randomly people like Jeffrey Epstein randomly killed themselves, Virginia Giuffre randomly hit by a truck. Prince Andrew has got to be pooping his pants right now. Bill Clinton probably pooping his pants already due to, he doesn't look good, advanced age. Bill Gates, he's got backup plans of back. If the United States government ever came, Bill Gates is more powerful than the United States government, I'm sorry to say. And Hollywood power agents, of course, terrified by the revelations that could come from the testimony that Ghislaine Maxwell is providing. I haven't seen this many rich guys sweating since that FTX crypto guy tried to blame poor accounting. Yeah. So here's a big question. Will Trump pardon her? Donald Trump has said that he hasn't considered it, but she's offering names from the Clinton years, which is absolute catnip for the MAGA base. How are you not going to, how could you possibly dangle a list of names of Bill Clinton and the orbit, the sphere of people surrounding Bill and Hillary Clinton? And if Ghislaine Maxwell, which of course, remember, how many times was Bill Clinton on the Lolita Express? Many multiples of times. And you'll say, oh, well, Donald Trump was on it too. Well, that's why it's going to be good to have the flight logs with annotations marked on them. This is what Ghislaine Maxwell is offering to the feds, along with 100 names. But if these 100 names turned out to be all enemies of Donald Trump, you would think, of course, that Donald Trump would be interested in seeing the list of the 100 names that Ghislaine Maxwell has offered. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Did you know that you can send us a text here on the Wake Up America show? I put that phone number in the bottom left-hand corner for you at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. And you can text us anytime, night or day. We'd love to hear from you guys, and maybe even have you become a regular guest at 573-319-1586. One listener texted in this morning, says, why are the I not dotted in minimum? I think it's because it was to throw you off a little bit earlier. Someone else says, minimum, bring back cursive. We will be talking about that today. And someone else said, happy belated birthday to Hazel. Well, thank you very much for that. We've raised exactly $0 towards the $75 goal. I know how it can be on Monday mornings, guys. But let's get the Rumble Rants started. Drop a $1 donation in the tip jar to help us to work towards that bonus content to be unlocked. If you'd like to see today's mini documentary, then all you have to do is help to unlock the bonus content by either dropping $1 or more in the tip jar and the donations that you see in the bottom left-hand or right-hand corner of the Wake Up America show's Rumble stream. Or what I recommend you do is that you go to forlibertyshop.com and do a little shopping this morning. Were you out of coffee this morning? Well, guess what? We've got some for you at forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4, libertyshop.com. If you go to forlibertyshop.com, guys, you guys are going to be able to find our delicious bevy of products, including delicious coffee and delicious tea. And I know that you guys will enjoy it because we've already confirmed that lots of people do love and enjoy it. Thank you, BB for Liberty. Bonus content. Bonus content. Today, Junior, did anybody watch Happy Gilmore 2 over the weekend? I'll give it a 5 out of 10 stars. Watchable, right? Some funny moments, lots of nostalgia. But of course, you probably already knew that. So if Ghislaine Maxwell flips, we go from conspiracy theory to conspiracy documentary to prosecution. And then when that happens, the most powerful people in the world better hope their names weren't spelled in cursive, which brings us to the next topic. Phenomena. So let's pivot from the power elite to the power struggle in your own living room. There's a growing rebellion happening, not on Capitol Hill, but in cul-de-sacs and kitchen. Oh, have I started a fight with the Happy Gilmore stuff, guys? What's going on over there in the chat? Quit it. No arguing with me on my score of 5 out of 10 for Happy Gilmore. On The Way, the Truth, and the Life is Austin Petersen's movie reviews. I will give it 1 thumb up and 1 thumb down, and that's 50-50, and that's 5 out of 10. 1 thumb up, 1 thumb down. Hey, wait. All right. Well, come on, guys. Let's talk about something. We could get to Happy Gilmore after Jon Miltimore joins us live in 20 minutes. Okay?
No,
right?
God.
Yes.
No, God, please.
Go
no,
back to your
no,
shanties. Thank you.
No.
Such a great line. You can't not love Shooter McGavin. All right. So there's a growing rebellion happening, not on Capitol Hill, but in cul-de-sacs and we'll talk about Happy Gilmore 2 later, guys. In cul-de-sacs and kitchen tables across America, it's not just the parents who are leading it. Apparently, it's the kids as well. This is the collapse of gentle parenting. This is the gentle parenting movement, and it's the rise of something that the internet, in its infinite wisdom, has dubbed FAFO parenting. So you know what that stands for. We're going to keep it family friendly here, but feel free to Google it, F around and find out. I think you can extrapolate. There are 2 kinds of people in the world. There are 2 kinds of people in the world. There are 2 kinds of people in the world. Those who can extrapolate from incomplete information According to a recent Wall Street Journal article, Generation Z and older millennials, some of whom were raised under the gentle parenting doctrine. This was not me, millennial. This must be the younger millennials. Some of whom of these millennials who were raised under the gentle parenting doctrine of never saying no, always validating emotions, and avoiding punishment are realizing something horrifying. And that's that it didn't work. So apparently what we got out of gentle parenting was a generation of toddlers who negotiate like hostage takers. They melt down when they're denied a cupcake. Well, nobody was denied a cupcake Well, actually, there was a child who was denied a cupcake this weekend. But it was only once. Poor Esther. And apparently people are shocked when the real world doesn't respond to bad behavior with a calm explanation and a warm hug. Have you as an adult seen someone having a meltdown, maybe at Walmart or somewhere in public, and they're having a meltdown because they're not getting what they want? I don't know. Karen is mad that the car wash missed a spot. I don't know. Right? And they're demanding something to see the manager, and maybe they're being a little ridiculous. Maybe they're going a little bit too far. Did they get a hug? Did they get a calm explanation, or did Sharquisha get in her face and remind her that the customer is always wrong at Popeyes? Could be any place. So these are the FAFO kids. FAFO. These are the kids who learned what happens when you test the world's boundaries and they get smacked by reality instead of gently redirecting them. TikTok is now full of viral videos mocking gentle parenting, and young parents are sharing stories of their toddlers literally yelling at them, or their toddlers actually telling them, "You're not allowed to be mad at me." This is the logical conclusion of treating every tantrum as a dialogue opportunity. So what is the alternative? What are parents returning to? Is this a cultural correction or a pendulum is swinging to something new? I love this story. Carla Dillon tried lots of ways to discipline her rambunctious 13-year-old, including making him write the same contrite sentence 100 times. But when he sprayed her with a water gun at a campground. She asked him not to. After she asked him not to, she saw only one option. She threw him in the pond, clothes and all. Remember, in the Bible, Jesus did say, suffer the children. Some of the best lessons in life are hard ones, Carla Dillon said. The internet calls it FAFO, right? F around and find out. You will frequently find this attached to those videos where they show like the defensive use of force when people are being assaulted. Yesterday, I think I posted on my Instagram stories the video. It's probably still there, of a guy who decided in a fit of road rage and probably ended his life, decided to pull out his gun and walk up to a vehicle and use the gun to try and like break the window out, and then stood there screaming at the guy with the gun in his hand. Well, what happened? He effed around and he found out. He was dropped him. I would never approach somebody in a truck. If you see somebody in a truck, anything, if it's a Ford Ranger, then I can understand. It's like he might not have a gun in his truck, but you could safely assume in the United States that if you've got anything F-150, because I drive one, an F-150 or higher, that they probably have a gun in their truck. What are you doing? You effed around and you found out. Revolt24 says there's a lot of videos of entitled people demanding stuff online. Google Carnival cruise flight. All right, listen. I'm not saying you're wrong or right. I'm just saying that this morning I saw a video in my timeline about Carnival cruisers who are mad that they're not playing rap music. So yes, a Darwin Award, right? The internet is calling this F around and find out. So F around and find out in the gun world is stupid guy road rages with a gun in his hand and gets dropped. That's effing around and finding out. But in the context of parenting, FAFO parenting is a child-rearing style that elevates consequences. No! Did she use the C word? That horrible word. Never call a woman that. Never give a woman, whatever you do, never give a woman the C word. That is the consequences. Ladies, bitches hate consequences. Don't give the B word either. Austin. FAFO, that's how we're pronouncing it here. So this is a child-rearing style that elevates consequences over the gentle parenting methods that have helped to shape Generation Z. FAFO, based on the idea that parents can ask, they can warn, but if a child breaks the rules, there we go, 3 strikes. Mom and dad aren't standing in the way of the repercussions. All right, you won't bring your raincoat? FAFO, walk home in the downpour. Now we don't give me the whole grandma, great grandma thing. Oh, they're going to catch cold because they're cold outside in the rain. No, they're not. That's not how it works. You don't catch cold because you are cold. You catch cold because of bacteria, grandma. He's walking home in the rain. 3 strikes and you're out of here. Was watching the San Diego baseball team destroy the Cardinals yesterday. Very sad. If you didn't feel like having lasagna for dinner, here's a good one. Survive until breakfast. Think of it like a video game. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, survive. There you go. You left your toy on the floor again after we specifically told you not to. Go find it in the trash. Maybe it'll be under the lasagna that you didn't eat. Parenting that's light on discipline has dominated the culture in recent decades, but critics blame the approach for some of Gen Z's problems in adulthood. They cite surveys that show young adults struggling with workplace relationships. Was it because their parents never told them no? And suffering from depression and anxiety? Was it because their parents refereed all their problems? If you guys were watching the show last week, I think on Freedom Family Friday, we talked about Pedro Pascal, you know, the actor who you can't avoid. You throw a rock and he's in a Hollywood movie these days, every single role. Pedro Pascal. So everybody's kind of getting the Pedro Pascal fatigue. Well, it's kind of this situation, right? Where it's like he's touching all these women because he's got anxiety. He's touching all these married women, right? He's got the Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe's wife, standing there right next to Willem Dafoe, and Pedro Pascal goes and decides to like touch Willem Dafoe's wife, which I'm sorry, but I mean, like, unless she's tripping or falling or like trying to get over something, first of all, that's my job to like save her, help her. I should be the one there. So that's a my bad thing, right? But if for some reason or whatever reason, you know, my wife needs help or something like that, you know, you have my permission to help her if she's falling down, right? Or something like that. But if you're just standing around in public and you just see somebody's wife, don't put your hands on her. Don't touch her. Don't touch my stuff. Right? Don't touch my wife. Don't touch my stuff. Right? Unless we specifically ask you to, or you see somebody struggling and it's kind of obvious. It's like, oh, look, they're about to fall. They're about to trip and fall. Put your hand out or something like that. But no. Pedro Pascal, very handsy. Right? You know, he's not trying to save his wife. He's just standing right there at the red carpet premiere thing, and he puts his hand on Willem Dafoe's wife. And what is the reason that he gets away with it? One, because of all the female simps that are out there for Pedro Pascal for whatever reason, right? They just love the gay guys or queer. But what is queer anyway, right? Really? Just spicy straight. So you got a queer guy touching your wife. You know what? Queer men, don't touch my wife. How about that? Straight men, queer men. How about that? Gay men, don't touch her. Keep your goddamn hands to yourself, everyone. Unless I specifically ask. And only in the sense of emergencies. So, FAFO can sound blessedly simple, right? For parents who spent years trying to meet their children's emotional needs without slipping into overt permissiveness, FAFO, F-A-F-O. Dylan, 35, knows that this approach can be off-putting. Oh my gosh, there's going to be so much trauma, their anxiety. Remember, it was anxiety that led Pedro Pascal to put his hands on so many married women. It's anxiety. He gets anxiety. So I need to lift up your skirt and caress your bosom gently, lovingly. I know it always helps with my anxiety. I feel a lot less stressed. Anxiety. Like, how can you possibly meet all of your child's emotional needs? You can't meet all of your wife or husband's emotional needs. You just can't. Robbie Thurman sent me a meme with like billions and billions of pictures of Pedro Pascal. Best Carl Sagan voice. Billions and billions of Pedro Pascals. If you wish to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. Thank you, Carl Sagan, Cosmos. Kobe. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm your host. I'm Austin Petersen. Glad and thankful to have you here. Happy Monday. Sorry it's Monday. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Summer is counting down. If you're not doing summer stuff as much as you can, guys, get out there and enjoy it. I even took a little bit of risk on my lower back yesterday and went sliding down the slip and slide, which was an absolute blast. But like after like the third or fourth time, my back was kind of like, all right, Austin, you're 44 years old. Let's slow it down a little. But doesn't mean that we have to slow down all of the fun. You can still have fun without landing on your butt to slide down a slip and slide at the very end and get soap in your eyes because we slipperied it up. We've been having a good summer so far. I hope that you guys have as well. A little bit of an update. We've got the first 3 or 4 minutes of the Battle of Athens documentary edited. Great. Only 55 more to go. Lots more work left to go on the editing process, but thank you to everyone who's been instrumental in helping us to get that produced. It's looking beautiful, and we're very glad to have your support, and it's just a very exciting project. Don't forget to help unlock that bonus content, ladies and gentlemen, because for now, we're going to have to go to our commercial break until you unlock the bonus content, and you can watch those instead of commercials when we go to get Jon Miltimore to talk about FAFO parenting, the F around and find out parenting. It's the new style of parenting based on the old style of parenting, and we're going to speak to a parent of multiple children about that when we get back. Unlock that bonus content. Picture this. It's 1776. Thomas Jefferson is hunched over his desk at Monticello, ink-stained fingers, writing the most radical document in human history. Do you really think he was sipping Starbucks? No.
He was drinking something bold, something black, something brewed strong enough to fuel a revolution. That's the spirit behind Founding Flavors, our signature line of liberty-fueled coffee. No soy froth, no climate guilt, no corporate slogans. Just real coffee, inspired by the men who wrote freedom into existence. Every cup is a quiet protest. Against mediocrity, against tyranny, against bad coffee. So this morning, skip the globalist brew. Grab something worthy of a free man's sunrise. Founding Flavors. Now brewing at forlibertyshop.com. Imagine bringing George Washington back to life. Just to explain that in 2025, men can get pregnant, waving an American flag might offend someone, and our government is $34 trillion in debt. But that's not all, George. We have drag queen story hour for toddlers. Pronouns are mandatory. And Harvard can't define woman. Oh. And we send billions to Ukraine but can't fix potholes in Ohio. You know, just normal modern empire stuff. I'm sure he'd be totally cool with it. Right after he finishes reloading. He didn't cross the Delaware for this nonsense, but you can carry on the fight with gear that would have made King George cry. Shop bold, shop free, shop forlibertyshop.com. Patriot. This summer isn't about sunscreen and safe spaces. It's about liberty, laughs, and looking like a red, white, and righteous badass. Welcome to the Summer of Freedom collection. Beach towels bold enough to trigger a liberal arts professor. Tank tops louder than a 4th of July fireworks finale. And mugs that scream, "Don't tread on my caffeine." Whether you're storming the sandbar or just grilling like George Washington with a Bluetooth speaker, this is the gear that lets everyone know. You're not here to play woke. You're here to play cornhole with conviction. So crack open a cold one, fire up the freedom, and rock the merch that makes communists cry. The Summer of Freedom is here.
Here at Alligator Alcatraz, the fence keeps them in. But slip up, and you're on my plate.
Looks like breakfast is making a run for it. We got 3 hot meals trying to check out early from Alligator Alcatraz.
They can splash, they can sprint, but there's no escaping Alligator Alcatraz. Caught 2. The third? Huh. The swamp's got its own way of catching runaways.
Mama was wrong. Gators don't need toothbrushes. Just an honest job making America great again.
The sheer volume of alcohol in Congress is staggering. Think of all those late nights voting, right? Some members, Tucker, would show up so wasted. They would have to sit in the cloakroom and hand their voting cards to sober members to go do their job.
Actually?
Yeah. And that's actually against House rules. I've seen that in my cloakroom. I know it happens in the Democrat cloakroom because I've exchanged notes with a fellow freshman. He's like, it happens here too. It's a shit show. So yeah, I've watched groups of some of my colleagues, some guys who I genuinely like a lot, sit in the corner of the cloakroom completely inebriated, incapable of walking outside, standing still, sticking their card and pressing yay or nay and back, especially when we had long amendment battles with 70 amendments.
Yeah.
They just hand their cards and say, just vote whichever we're going to vote. Just don't make me look crazy. I've seen it.
Bro, that would explain a lot. If members of Congress were drunk out of their minds, that would explain a lot of the legislation that comes out of Washington, D.C., but we're not going to focus too much on things like that. We're going to talk about something else. FAFO parenting goes by lots of names. Tough love, authoritative parenting, or a method to out-feral their feral. Joining us right now is a man who is quite civilized and in no way, shape, or form could be described as feral. Jon Miltimore, the American Institute of Economic Research. He's like a big old puppy dog. Oh, look at Jon. Hi, Jon.
Hey, morning, AP. How you doing?
Doing good, Jon. Thanks so much for joining us. Happy Monday. We always appreciate having you on Mondays with Miltimore. And all I'm going to say is at the end of this segment, when this is all over, Jon, you're going to plug whatever it is that you need to plug like hell. Let's not forget that.
You got it. I got the plug down.
Yeah, just don't F around or you're going to find out. FAFO parenting. What was your big picture take to this piece, Jon?
No, it was a good piece of journalism. I'm not surprised that you have more parents that are leaning into this. I saw, I think it was Hannah Cox, who I used to work with at FEE. She had a post recently when she was complaining because you had all these kids and they joined a club. It was a tennis club, like a private club, and the parents have no control over their children. And we've probably all seen that. And you have parents that the kids are running around out of control and parents aren't doing anything. It's very annoying. And I think that is a trend. And good to see that you have some of these younger parents that are taking control and maybe moving beyond the gentle parenting strategy. Now, my personal take on this is you need gentle parenting too. It's not, don't do a tough love solely. Don't do a gentle parenting solely. As a parent, I got 3 kids. You need to be able to do both. There's times where you gotta, get your kids' attention and let them know you mean business. Whether it's like the mom did in that one where she threw her own kid into the pool, or whatever. There's times you got to get their attention that way. And I remember, in our neighborhood, we used to do these gatherings. And I made a comment once, and several parents were kind of shocked by it. But I said, I like it that my kids are a little bit afraid of me. And they said, no, I don't want my kids to be afraid of me. And I'm like, don't get me wrong. My kids love me. They trust me, but you want, as a dad, I want them a little afraid of me. And that means that they're going to listen. And my wife's a little jealous because sometimes she can say something 6 times and they don't do it. And I bark once and they do it. And, partly my wife always says, it's your voice. Like you have a way of projecting your voice. It's not the voice. They know what comes next, and I'm not a physical or abusive parent. Although I will say, this is what I've argued with libertarians. I know a lot of libertarians will say they'd never spank their kids in a million years. I had no problem. I didn't spank a lot. In fact, I have one child I never had to spank. One I had to spank a few times. One I had to spank a bit more. But I didn't have an aversion to spanking like some do. I think there is a time for it. It's something I usually look at as a failure. By the time I have to spank my kid, I'm like, all right, I failed. I should have kind of corrected this earlier. But there's times where kids need to know that there are going to be consequences, and it doesn't have to be a spanking. It can be other forms. But it's better to do that than to be a dish rag parent.
I got a great comment from Mangoose87. I could have written this myself and just replaced it with karate. He says, I see this in jiu-jitsu. People outsource disciplining their kids to us. We can only do so much in 1 hour per week. It is something where kids need a series of constant supervisions, at least in the early part of their childhood as they transition to adulthood, that they do need constant supervision of their behavior. And I mean, it's not like that. I think it's not that you don't let kids be kids, but I guess what I would really say is that there's a time and a place for everything. That there's certain set of behavior and expectations in different roles. Like yesterday, or this weekend, when we're having the birthday party, when we're outside doing slip and slide, jumping around, that's the time to be screaming your head off. And then once you walk inside, however, once you're inside of a building, you have certain etiquette and standards that you enforce, like you use your inside voice, for an example, right? I would say that that's kind of one of those unspoken rules. But if you're not, here's the thing that you learn about with like pets and what I've seen with kids is that if you don't constantly enforce the rules, as soon as you let them get away with things, they're going to get away with it forever. It's kind of like our dogs. When you condition them to go to the door, if I just let them go out the door as soon as I open the door, they would dart out at every time. But when they know that I'm watching them and ensuring that they are not going to run out that door, they stop at the door, right? So permissiveness by parents, I think, is a big problem. It requires kind of like constant vigilance. Is part of it, you think, just laziness? Parents just don't want to constantly enforce the rules?
100%. Laziness is responsible for a great deal of it. And you've seen it too, where kids are doing stuff and the parents on a phone. They're not even paying attention, to what their kid's doing. I've always been, one thing we always did, partly because we like to eat out, but partly because there is a learning element. We'd take our kids to restaurants a lot, and they learn quickly, when you're outside screaming your head off and playing, you can do that. In restaurants, you need to be polite, or going to movies and knowing no, you can't be talking during the movie. And, all of this is learning behavior. But the parent needs to understand these boundaries first. And if you have parents that don't care or don't know, you end up with unruly, obnoxious children. And again, we've all seen that. We've all been there and been frustrated by it. But it's encouraging. I thought it was interesting too, how there's, like all things in America today, there's a political divide on this. Like you have the MAGA are more F around, find out, and the leftists are the more progressive, gentle parenting style. But I'll just reemphasize it. There's not one way or the other way. You as a parent, if you want to be an effective parent, you need to be able to do both. And I got a little bit more no nonsense, tough love in me. But I also, there was a quote in that Wall Street Journal story, and it said, I want my children, my child to know if they're ever in trouble that they can come to me. And I've always felt that way. I want my children to know I love them unconditionally. If they ever have an issue, I don't care if they ran into a tree, after having a few beers and they need, whatever it is, like you need help, you can call me. I'm not going to, there might be consequences, but life is, we've all been teenagers and things go sideways sometimes in different ways. You get in trouble, and I want them to know they can come to me and not be afraid of getting, the back of the hand or something.
The back of my hand.
And that's, here's my point on that. Like for a lot of years, I think there was too much tough love. I think there was too much just discipline, and people would whack around their kids, and that was how they learned, right? It was all, and maybe they needed more gentle parenting, and kids needed, to know they could talk about feelings. Well, I think that pendulum swung way too far, and there was just too much gentle, what's the term that, gentle parenting and soft, then we had too much, and no, kids need that tough love too. They need to know their consequences as well.
Do you think that this is just that FAFO parenting is probably a fad, or do you think that there's a real movement brewing under the surface here?
That's a good question. I don't know. As I was thinking about, talking about this, I thought too, what drove some of the gentle parenting strategies. I think you could see a bigger movement develop. One reason I think that we don't is because of the way law enforcement gets involved in a lot of this stuff. The child services aspect, we've been watching The Sopranos, and I'd never seen all of it. And you see it where AJ starts to threaten to call child services on Tony, a mob boss, of course, but you see that like Tony's not afraid of it, but it's something, we probably heard in, Friends or something, where the kid realizes oh yeah, you do that, I'll call child services, or I'll get, authorities involved. All of that makes, maybe a tough love strategy a little harder. If you're trying to, at least if you're doing anything in the corporal realm, you might be on thin ground legally. If you're taking things away from your child, you get authorities in the middle of this, and it could get messy. And I think some parents anyway, might be aware of that. So I would hope that doesn't become a problem, because parents, let's face it, 99.9% of parents, all they want is what's best for their child. They're trying to do the best they can. And state intervention in these realms, I'm not saying there's never, a place for that. I think usually state intervention in these situations makes things much worse.
Do you think that the collapse of traditional discipline in the home is contributing to the explosion of mental health issues that we see in a lot of these teenagers today?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think, my wife and my daughter went to shopping at Sephora someplace yesterday, and she came back, and somebody, I don't know if it was a worker or a consumer there, but it was a young person who had two masks on and hair different color and like all these, like a chain running from here and then a tail in back. Like it was something. So this person's kind of like a lost person. And my daughter was trying to explain to me, I'm like, just feel sad for this person. This person doesn't know who they are. During the COVID state, they were probably broken spiritually by just scared the hell out of this person, still wearing a mask. And I think if you don't have a foundation in the home, what's going to happen is you're going to find other forces out there are going to mold your child. If you don't have if they're lost and don't have a foundation, they're going to be molded by whatever that is. Who knows? But I think if you need a strong foundation in your home, and absent that, your kid, especially today, you look at all these things out there. There's a lot of different ways they can go sideways. So if you're raising a family is not a simple thing. It's very rewarding, but if you go into it and don't really know what you're doing or don't have a plan, you could find yourself in a very difficult situation because your kids will be being raised by forces and ideas that maybe are not your own.
Yeah, we were talking this weekend, my in-laws and I, about just like parenting styles when it comes to screens, and they were a little surprised that that our 1-year-old has not consumed really any like baby media. We don't show them a lot of the baby media because not because I'm necessarily paranoid, but I think that developmentally it might be better for her to not be listening to things that are aimed at children's brains specifically, but that she would have a better experience potentially growing up with just straight up, physical media, things like xylophones and musical toys and instruments and things like that. But, it starts in the very beginning. This first year, I've been doing everything that I can to try and lay down a very healthy mental state for her, helping her to, know that it's okay to be afraid of things and that still it's not okay to not approach it, right? If she's nervous about like a, water or a fountain or something like that, like she can be afraid of it, but we're just going to inch closer and closer slowly to it so that we get exposure. Because I kind of believe in what the therapists call this exposure therapy. And my wife, Stephanie, had to do this with, I call them furries, but they're more like mascots. She had a terrifying experience with I think it was a Godfather's Pizza or Showbiz Pizza. What was it when we were kids where they had the band playing? Was that Showbiz Pizza?
Showbiz Pizza.
Now it's Chuck E. Cheese's, yeah. But used to be Showbiz Pizza. So she had a terrifying experience with the rat and the costumes. So in order for her to cure her fear, she had to actually meet a mascot, but to do it while they weren't wearing their head, they had like half their costume on and things like that. But I think like a lot of parents today with the gentle parenting would just be like, oh, they're scared of that. Don't expose them to that. Oh, keep them safe from everything. That kind of helicopter parenting approach. But like kids need to be, I feel, and I think kids need to face their fears, especially when there really is nothing to be afraid of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think that's very healthy. We've kind of adopted this, idea that, if they feel a certain way, that's just them, like that, and we got to accept them for that. Well, no, if they're afraid of something like a costume like that, confront that. Like that's a very simple idea. Like my daughter is definitely afraid of spiders. I'm like, you got to get over this. Look, like they can't hurt you. And I couldn't at first. I thought she was just kind of being, dramatic, but I think she is afraid. But and not every phobia can we overcome. But just because you fear something or feel something, that doesn't mean you can't overcome that, right? And culturally, I think we just kind of say, oh, that's just that we have to accept it because everything that wells up inside us, that's who we are. A lot of life is about overcoming our fears and overcoming things. And if we don't have a resilient mindset or a mindset that is going to try to do that, you're going to have a bunch of kids in the basement playing video games when they're 30 years old.
Last one on this topic. If you had to give parents one principle, John, to raise stronger, saner kids in today's upside down world, what would it be? One principle, one ring to rule them all. What would it be?
There's a lot there. You could say something like love your children, but I think people do love their children. I would say that, I'm going to go back to something you were talking about just a minute ago. This is a challenge that this generation is going to face in a unique way, even more than I did and you did, and certainly more than our parents. The technology is a problem. And I'm not a Luddite. I have a smartphone and I use it and I'm happy I have it. But you see that kids are addicted to electronics today, and we'll do family gathering. And I look around, there's 6 kids on phones. They're all sitting together in a big circle. They're all on their phones, and I bark at them and say, "Put those phones away." Again, kids can have phones. I'm not saying you can't, but kids without boundaries with those things, it's going to be a mess. And so be mindful of that. And with Hazel, it's good you're already thinking about it instead of just giving her something where she can, even if it's Baby Shark, right? People say, well, what's the harm in Baby Shark? Well, kids, they want this all the time. Okay. I have 3 kids and, kids are different too. I have a couple that they're not real, but one, he really he wants to play the video game all the time. And when you take him off it, then he's going to squawk. And, I said, that's when it goes in the closet. That's because you can't handle it. And you're going to see one kid, he might not have a problem at all with a smartphone. The other kid, he might not be able to, it's like crack to him. He can't put it away. He needs it. And be aware of those things. Be mindful of how much screen time they have and how they use these devices.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that because it means that it's good to hear that you're on the right track with these things. My mother-in-law even gets a little bit kind of like, what do you mean you don't play the baby stuff? Because she does a lot of babysitting, and if you're a babysitter, I'm sure it's hugely helpful for keeping the kids distracted if you need to get some other kind of work done. And I'm sure that for parents who need help, especially if you're a single parent. I cannot imagine what it would be like being a single parent. It's enough work for 2 parents to do 1 kid, but I cannot imagine being a single parent and having to deal with 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 kids, who knows, for whatever reason, the circumstances you find yourself in. It'd be a nightmare. But I'm sure that a lot of the media is actually really helpful for some parents to buy them the time that they need to, I don't know, shovel a few bites of food in their mouth. But I really am enjoying the fact that I don't need to sit around and hear that music clanging in my ears because it drives me insane. To hear some of what the kids are listening to, I listen to it and I'm just like, no wonder they're all insane maniacs. They're listening to this stuff and I'm just like, geez, I just, you know what I play for Hazel? I play for a little golden oldies. She hears a little Motown, right? I'm not sitting around
training her already.
Yeah, well, we're not playing like Chopin or Bach or Beethoven necessarily, right? Maybe a little bit later, but it's, we're playing some good tunes. It's actual music. And I played guitar for her the other day, man. She was mesmerized by that. I was sitting in front of her.
Was she watching you play it too?
Oh yeah, she was she was mesmerized. You know what it was? It reminded me of college when I used to sit in front of the dorms and play guitar. All the women
and the girls would swoon.
The girls just all made their way right in front of me, and I was just like, "Oh, that's a familiar feeling." But nonetheless, I persisted. John, one last thing I would like to ask you about. Speaking of children's programming, the head of NPR issued a desperate statement trying to claw back funds for the children's programming over there. Take a listen to this.
Hi, I'm Catherine Marr, CEO of NPR. Congress just voted to eliminate all federal funding for public media. This decision hurts communities across America. It means fewer local reporters covering town councils and state championships. It means fewer stories about local farms, fisheries, businesses, about what's happening in the State House, about musicians and civic leaders who make our communities tick. It means fewer voices reflecting the richness of who we are as a nation, fewer stories about what connects us and brings us closer together. And for millions, especially in rural areas, it means losing access to trusted local news, emergency alerts, and everyday connection. But you can help us keep this vital, vibrant service on air across our nation, for your neighbors, for you, and for millions of Americans. Please, donate now. Thank you.
I guess I'm going to have to call the Corporation for Private Broadcasting now. Huh, John? Your take?
It's a win-win. I pointed this out. The New York Times had a piece on this, and they pointed out that donations are pouring in, and they're using this as some sort of, spiking the football. I'm like, this is a win-win for everyone. Why shouldn't the people who like NPR and consume it actually give something to have it exist versus just taxpayers getting fleeced for something that they don't even like and that they see is actually not that might even be a harmful NPR has been a joke for a very long time. I'm so happy to see that government media is going away. I hope it stays going. This is something we have more media than ever. We don't need to be taxpayers don't need to be funding this.
Did you see the episode of South Park last week where Cartman was complaining about the loss of NPR?
I did. I didn't see the whole episode. I just saw clips on Twitter, and I'm like, I got to watch it this week at some point because I actually might be writing something on NPR this week. So, but this is fantastic. Like, this is a political problem. It's not a constitutional problem. And people are saying like, oh, it's the First Amendment. Like, no, the First Amendment says that government can't prohibit you from saying this. Okay, and that you can't prevent a free press. There's nothing in there that says the government has to prop up your media, which is what's happening here.
Well, we're all thrilled to hear you say it, John, because as somebody who works in the media, I'm sick and tired of paying my taxpayer dollars to my competitors. It'd be like if the government funded like the Tim Pool show or whoever else is like live online. John, anything else that you want to share with our audience before we let you go?
All listeners, come out, check out my content on Substack. I'm The Take by Jon Miltimore on Substack. I'm writing there all the time. Check it out.
What's the name of the Substack again?
The Take by Jon Miltimore.
The Take. So if I just go over and I type The Take into a Substack.
You type in The Take, and then you might have to put by Jon Miltimore. I haven't tested that myself. I might not be the only one. Yeah.
I would test that.
That's why I say The Take by Jon Miltimore.
By Jon Miltimore. Miltimore. We want more Milta. So go visit Miltimore, The Take by Jon Miltimore. John, hey, thanks for coming to join us here on Monday mornings. We appreciate you, brother.
Hey, great being with you, AP. Have a good week.
You too. Bye.
To be honest with you, the country is moving towards Trump. I mean, these polls that come out and show him not doing well, I don't buy that. I think his strength is still greater than the Democratic strength. He is a stronger public figure than the Democratic people. I mean, Obama still has tremendous charisma, but Trump has strength. And I think that's what all voters look for. But they want a president who is a strong figure, and he's got it, and he can. It's just there, and half the country buys it. That's what I think. To be honest with you, the country is moving towards Trump. I mean, these polls that come out and show him not doing well, I don't buy that. I think his strength is still greater than the Democratic strength. He is a stronger public figure than the Democratic people. I mean, Obama still has tremendous charisma, but Trump has strength. And I think that's what all voters look for. But they want a president who is a strong figure, and he's got it. And he can, it's just there. And half the country buys it.
Does anybody remember Chris Matthews, Hardball? Well done there, Chris Matthews. All right, next topic. Moving on. Talk amongst yourselves. Our final topic today might be small potatoes, may seem like small potatoes until you realize that it's kind of the roots of the whole garden here. Cursive writing. Yeah, cursive. This is, the loopy letters your grandma wrote your birthday cards in. It's making a comeback in Michigan, of all places, and 24 other states are right behind. Now, why does this story matter? Well, it matters because cursive isn't just about style. It's about cognition. It's about history, and it's about our shared identity. So what's going on in Michigan? This is a House Bill 4675, and it would encourage school districts to begin teaching cursive again by the 2027 to 2028 school year. It was sponsored by a Republican woman by the name of Brenda Carter, who said, if kids can't read the Constitution, they can't defend it. I like Brenda Carter. Brenda. Very good, Brenda. And if you want to understand your rights, you'd better be able to read the document that protects them. Why would cursive help, though? Here's what I'm going to say. Studies show that cursive writing activates more brain regions than typing. Now, make of that what you will. The brain is a very mysterious organ, and we don't necessarily know just because it activates more brain regions than typing doesn't necessarily mean that it gives it an edge. I would be willing to guess that it does, but the brain works in very mysterious ways. So cursive writing has been shown to activate more brain regions than typing, which would lead me to believe that it is more beneficial to the brain to write in cursive. Luke Sacker says that penmanship encourages interest in the arts. That would not surprise me at all. Cursive is for cursing, says Quest Fanning. I do like a good, beautiful written curse word in cursive. And allegedly, it also helps to train children in fine motor control and focus. There is something to cursive writing that forces one to slow down, which is probably why, of course, it causes people to not want to have to learn it, and to focus on the task that they're working on. This pen that I have that my wife gave me for my birthday, it was one of my favorite gifts, a beautiful pen, and it's a fountain pen. It's a type of pen that you, in order to write, have to sometimes shake it out a little bit, but it's sort of like that quill pen tip. I don't know if you can actually see it here. Right there, I'll put it over my nose if you can see it without the focus there. Beautiful fountain pen, and I really enjoy writing with it. But when I first started learning how to write with this pen, it's a little tricky, right? Getting the ink to blot just right so that you can write. What I realized is it's not like a ballpoint pen where you can just write as quickly as you can. This pen requires you to slow down, and in requiring you to slow down and to focus, it actually helps to bring about better penmanship, because whenever I write, if I were to write a one-page report, which I used to have to do frequently in high school, when I would write a one-page report, my writing would typically begin strong, and then it would end starting to look all over the place, and as your hand gets more and more tired. But this is exercise just like any other form of exercise, but instead of lifting weights, you're lifting the pen. And if the pen is truly mightier than the sword, then perhaps bringing back cursive writing and forcing children to slow down. Maybe we should give them all fountain pens as well on this one. I'm having a little trouble getting the ink. You have to kind of like shake it a little bit to get the ink into the tip. And here's a question. Is it a national security threat that Gen Z can't sign their names? We're one TikTok ban away from kids forging contracts with emojis. Ask yourself this. Would it be in our best interests to allow penmanship to disappear if technology were to ever, say, cease in the fraction of an instant because of an electromagnetic pulse? Would it be better that you might be able to write a letter to send for help in a situation where perhaps there is no electronic circuits? What if you're in the jungle? What if you need to send a message in some way? Imagine never being able to write a proper letter to do so. Penmanship going away. Every signer of the Declaration of Independence used cursive. Lincoln wrote the Gettysburg Address in flowing rhythmic script, and guess what? They weren't hunched over iPads watching Mr. Beast while they were doing it. Have you noticed this trend where people can never just watch a video? Now they have to be watching two videos at the same time. I have been guilty of this before, but not to the greatest extent that I'm seeing it now, where you'll be watching content and people will be talking, but either right next to or right above or below the content that you're watching will be someone playing Subway Surfers. And it's kind of like, and when I first saw this, I was like, why is there a video game? And then I remembered, it's because people's attention spans. They can't just listen and watch someone speaking about it. They have to have something going on the side. I actually remember the story right before Facebook really became ubiquitous. Mark Zuckerberg was being interviewed as this company was blowing up. And someone had said that this kid, this Silicon Valley, now newly minted billionaire, if he was bored with you, if you're being interviewed, or if he was having a conversation with someone, if he was bored with you, you would see his eyes slowly start to trail away from you. And And people, his handlers would explain, well, they said it was because he was just not interested in what it is that you had to say. So this is not just a Generation Z thing. This has been a millennial thing as well. I have heard that there have been some millennials, maybe on the lower end of the millennium totem pole, that also did not learn how to write in cursive in school. Now, I'm an elder, or I guess they call us geriatric millennials. I was born in 1981, so we did learn cursive. What about you and your generation? What year were you born, and did you learn how to write in cursive? And do you agree with me that this is about preserving a link to the past? A civilization that forgets how to write eventually forgets how to think. Teaching cursive may not fix the world, but it might just teach a generation how to leave a mark worth remembering. What are you guys' thoughts? We've raised $10 towards a $75 bonus goal, which I think is a potential fail. It means that the bonus content that we produced for the mini documentary that we produced for you today will not be unlocked if we don't unlock it within the next 30 minutes. And stranger things have happened. We've done it before, but I've started to notice a trend that it's been harder and harder to raise the bonus content bucks. And maybe it's because of my appeal. Maybe I need to offer you guys something a little better for your money. But maybe Dad Bod Baboon disagrees, and he likes to see it. He says, those of you good at these AI videos should do a short with George Washington and the other founders of the range, firing modern weapons and the reaction to the firepower. That's a great idea, Dad Bod. I'm actually going to release an online course teaching people how to do just that. I'm going to be working on that one today, as well as some more content for you guys. And thank you for that. It looks like we've raised $15 towards the $75 bonus content goal. I just know this ink is going to spray out all over the place. Or maybe it's just the ink is out and I need to just give up the ghost and replace it. Shocking footage captured a woman getting knocked out cold with a punch to the face during a violent brawl on a Cincinnati street. This is the video that everybody's been talking about this weekend. And before I show it to you, should I remind you that, do I need to remind you that this is extremely violent? And if you have children watching right now, that perhaps it may not be good for them to see this horrible, horrific, brutish attack. A fight that broke out in the heart of downtown Cincinnati on Friday night with a white man and a woman appearing to be relentlessly targeted by a group of largely black assailants. Remains unclear what sparked it, but witnesses told the news that one of the groups made racial comments before the blows started, though it's unclear who the initial aggressors were. Andy, support for liberty. Thank you, brother. We have unlocked as a bonus content. So in this clip, a man in a white t-shirt is chased to the street and then shoved to the sidewalk by two other men who proceed to punch and kick him once he's down. Others from a jeering crowd, both men and women alike, rush in and stomp on the man's head and torso, with one even body slamming him, the video shows. And then after trying in vain to defend himself, the man is seen, as you can see here, staggering to his feet. He's got a bloody face. And then, look, a woman rushes in and tries to help him. I'm sorry that this is graphic, brutal violence. But then, of course, her stepping in, she runs afoul of the crowd. Look at them trying to pull her back up. Blood now draining from her mouth. She tries to hold back one of the attackers. She's punched in the face twice. And then she's sent, here it is. tumbling to the ground, her head cracking on the pavement. Now, please understand. Here we go. Look at this violent attack from the side. Boom. A man and a woman both attacking her and punching her lights out, knocking her to the pavement. A move that can absolutely kill someone. Right. So her body instantly goes limp. She's got blood trickling from her mouth. Witnesses said that the man at the center of the fight interacted with the attackers about 15 minutes earlier and that he'd left before coming back. So now a little bit of time for Sensei Says, okay?
Bow to your sensei.
Okay, let me tell you something, okay, guys? Now, everybody wants to be able to go out at night in an American city and be able to have a good time and not have to worry about things. Everybody wants that. And I think that you all know that your sensei here, your karate sensei, could tell you all names of manner of moves that you could use to defend yourselves in situations like these. But there are a whole laundry list of things that should come before ever having to resort to Sensei Miyagi karate. Okay? But there are no magical karate moves that can protect you from getting beaten up by a crowd. No, I'm sorry to report that the fact is that there are certain situations and scenarios that you should avoid like the plague. Now, I'm not going off and saying that you need to start a whites-only community to be able to avoid this kind of violence, like the people in the video that I will show you here in just a few minutes. But I will say that perhaps spending time with your woman out alone on the streets at night is never a good idea, no matter where you live. But that if you do have plans of doing such a thing, then I highly recommend that you conceal carry a pistol. Learn a little gung fu. Remember the Second Amendment and train with it and use it wisely. Use it as much as you use the First Amendment. In other words, train. Be that well-regulated militia. And be that person who can defend not only yourself. This man was not able to defend himself, but he was not able to defend the woman who was stepping in to defend him. If your woman is having to step in and defend you on the streets from this kind of a violent attack, you've already made a mistake. You should never be in a situation in public where you are surrounded by these type of people ever. If you got surrounded, it's like the saying goes, if you ever find yourself in a fair fight, then your tactics suck. Now look how they are treating him, and think about how easily something like this could have been avoided, and think about how many menaces to society could have been legally and safely executed in the lights of the street lamp, and the guy would have gotten off. Probably, it's Ohio. Vivek Ramaswamy is about to be their governor. Probably would have gotten away with it and would have taken out 2, 3, 4, maybe as much as 5 threats to society. Look, here's his woman having to step in, all because the guy didn't have the wherewithal to putting himself in that situation. 1, 2, not just simply carrying. Did you know that you can get a 380 ACP pistol? Maybe even like some of them you can get 9mm that are ultra compact, and they'll actually even fit right inside your pocket. You don't even have to do any kind of like necessarily fancy conceal carry stuff. You can get little tiny 380 ACP pistols. Ruger makes some decent ones, and you just put it right against the side of their head, or you put it to their chest, and then one and done. And the fights never began. The fight's over because it never started. Because an assault. Look at that male assaulting a female. That didn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen because this is the United States of America. This isn't France. This isn't the UK where you would have been, I would already be in the constabulary would be knocking on my door right now because I would be a racist for pointing this video out. Speaking of, I got contacted by some of my British friends over the last weekend who said that they finally have had enough and that they're moving to the United States. Let's give it up. Your children will thank you. Your children's children will thank you. But do remember that here in the United States, we do like a well-regulated militia. And for us, well-regular means well Tested, well-oiled, well-primed. Hell, a high point would be better than this. Amen to Bradley Beckman, yes. Ruger EC9 is a perfect size pocket pistol. Absolutely. Stick it in your pocket. But here's the thing. Before you even get into a situation, again, if you're in a fair fight, your tactics suck. The pistol is there in a life or death situation, trying to save your own life, trying to save the life of maybe the mother of your children, perhaps this woman. We don't know a whole lot about the victims yet. Now mommy is going to find herself, if she survives, she's going to find herself in for a lengthy hospital stay, damn near guaranteed a concussion. If you're bleeding at the mouth like that after striking your head on the pavement, there's a good chance you cracked your skull, and there's going to be extensive surgeries. Mom may not even talk the same. Maybe she'll develop some crazy new super skills. Who knows? I saw a video the other day of a man who got whacked on the backside of the head. And he lost certain abilities, but he became like a savant at some musical capabilities. I don't know if I could get that kind of whack in the back of the head. Maybe that's okay. My British friends are moving to the United States, and what they need to know about the United States is that before you get in a situation where you need your karate, is a situation where you needed your gun. And before you ever got in a situation like that, you should know you're Mr. Miyagi, and that is best defense, no be there. Now bow to your sensei. Cincinnati Police Chief Teresa Fitka said in a statement to this video, "I am in complete disgust waking up to the viral video many of you have now seen. Behavior displayed is nothing short of cruel and absolutely unacceptable." Well, let's see what you're going to do about it, Chief Teresa. Find out more about that when we get back.
In a Thursday post on Truth Social, President Donald Trump wrote, "Everyone is stating that I will destroy Elon Musk's companies by taking away some, if not all, of the large-scale subsidies he receives from the U.S. government. This is not so." He added, "I want Elon and all businesses within our country to thrive, in fact, thrive like never before." It's not entirely clear if Trump will cut subsidies to Musk's companies, but during a press briefing a day earlier, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said, the Cato Institute. In June, during a public feud between the two men, Trump posted that the easiest way to cut spending would be to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts, adding he was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. Musk's Tesla Model S was launched with a $465 million Department of Energy loan, and his company has received $11.4 billion in state and federal subsidies, according to a February report by the Washington Post. It's not just Musk's companies, though. The government trough is open for businesses from all industries, including agriculture, aviation, broadband, energy, education, hospitality, housing, manufacturing, transportation, and others. The $42.5 billion Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment BEAD program, which aims to provide internet access to underserved and rural areas, has connected 0 people. Annual farm subsidies can range between about $15 billion to $30 billion per year, according to a Cato Institute report. Recent spending bills are littered with government subsidies that overpromise and underdeliver. This includes $684 million spent on 8 non-operational coal carbon capture plants over the past 15 years, $387 million spent on a failed clean coal power plant in Mississippi, and $200 billion stolen from the Small Business Administration's Economic Injury Disaster Loans, EIDLs, and Paycheck Protection Program, PPP programs. Everyone wants the United States to be at the leading edge of industry, Edwards tells Reason, but the way to do that is for the federal government to get it out of the way and to provide an open playing field for everyone. Yet the administration has a mixed record on subsidies in recent weeks. As part of the $9.4 billion rescissions package, Congress recently voted to cut subsidies for public broadcasting. Now, NPR and PBS have to obtain all, rather than most, of their funding from donors and sponsorships. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act claws back $500 billion in energy subsidies, but also includes $52.3 billion in spending on the farm safety net, the most significant agricultural subsidy provided by the government. Trump's tariffs are also akin to corporate subsidies as well, says Edwards, with industries already facing the effects of protectionism, lobbying in Washington for favorable treatment. It's consumers who get the short end of the stick in all this, although the administration seems to be okay with this outcome. Worryingly, Trump has at times attempted to assert the executive branch's power over private companies, such as his executive order to combat illegal private sector DEI preferences, mandates, policies, programs, and activities, and those targeting various law firms. When companies hitch their wagon to federal funding, it makes it easier for the government to wield the power of the state against them. Edwards argues that protecting U.S. businesses through subsidies or tariffs makes them complacent and less competitive. True competitiveness, he adds, comes from being subjected to the full rigors of the market. If Trump wants American businesses to thrive, in fact, thrive like never before, he could act on his promise to cut hundreds of billions of dollars in spending by calling on Congress to cancel all federal subsidies and allow American businesses to thrive or fail on their merit.
No blacks, no Jews, no gays. High up in the Ozark Hills, in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, building houses and a new type of community. It's called Return to the Land, and it is a town open to white people only. They are millennials and Gen Z, and this is a new update of age-old prejudice.
What we've done here is establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are, and that is just for the sake of preserving, our culture.
And that culture, effectively, we're saying this is a white culture, a whites-only place.
White American culture.
But what this sounds like is bringing back segregation. Is that a fair assessment?
It's free association. So we're not trying to keep other people down. This is a small settlement in the middle of the Ozarks.
But they are being kept out, even if...
Well, you don't let everyone into your home.
Around 40 people live here. Hundreds more from across the world have paid to be members. And while the men do the physical labour, the women take care of the children who live here full time. It can be a very loving community if you're part of the community, but if you're black, or if you're Jewish, or if you're gay, you can't be part of that community.
They can have their own communities, and they already do.
You might be wondering how any of this can be legal. Return to the Land is structured as a private members association, which they believe allows them to discriminate on the basis of ethnicity, along with other factors. That has yet to be tested in the courts and may well fail. The Arkansas Attorney General has said his office is now reviewing the matter as a result of our reporting, and that there is no room for racial discrimination in Arkansas or anywhere in a free society.
Interesting. What are your thoughts on that? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. Thanks so much for joining us here today on the Wake Up America show. If you're still with me, then you survived a morning tour through America's most sacred rituals. Bureaucratic gaslighting, aristocratic evasion, parental delusion, and the resurrection of long-dead handwriting. We've seen the theater, we've heard the lies, poured the coffee, and now, as Cicero might say, the welfare of the people has always been the alibi of tyrants. And friends, this morning's tyrants came dressed in red, white, and sometimes rhinestones. Let's recap. What did we learn? That even the most loyal knight can rebel when the castle starts stinking of rot. Dan Bongino breaking ranks, breaking the unspoken code of modern power politics, never revealed that the good guys might be hiding something too. He saw the Epstein cover-up memo. His moral gyroscope is spinning so hard it might blow a gasket. You don't say I was shaken to my core unless you saw something monstrous, or unless you're just auditioning for MSNBC. And I don't think Bongino's buying a tote bag anytime soon. So when the man who guarded the king starts whispering about the skeletons in the royal basement, maybe, just maybe, it's time to grab a torch, maybe a pitchfork, and start looking for yourself. 2 full days of testimony from Ghislaine Maxwell, 100 names, no Fifth Amendment, no plea deal, no skipped questions, just a convicted sex trafficker talking her way through the Rolodex of global aristocracy like she's reading aloud at story time. Lawyer says she's not angling for a pardon, then she adds, we hope the president exercises his power in the right and just way. Okay. H.L. Mencken once said, every decent man is ashamed of the government he lives under. And in this case, the government is ashamed of its own archives. We're also now starting to see a full-blown rebellion from the children raised without discipline to the parents who tried to be their best friends. They've discovered what Aristotle could have told them 2,000 years ago. The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. But if you never give kids roots, if you never give them discipline, if you coddle them with nothing but validation, they grow up not knowing what's real or how to handle rejection without filing a class action lawsuit. FAFO parenting. It isn't a joke. It's an emergency correction, because when your kid says you're not allowed to be mad at me after kicking the dog and then melting down over a fruit stack, that's not empowerment. That's tyranny of a different kind. Tyranny in a child's car seat. And finally, we talked about Cursive, a rebellion of ink against the tyranny of the touchscreen. Michigan's trying to bring it back. Some mock it, but they shouldn't, because when you can't read what your ancestors wrote, you stop understanding what they fought for. It's not about fancy penmanship. It's about continuity, bringing it all together. It's about a connection to the past that wasn't written in Comic Sans or typed in all caps. Because when Jefferson quilled a parchment, he wasn't just signing a document. He was making a contract with posterity. You want to raise kids who value liberty, teach them to write their own name. You want to stop tyranny, have them read the Declaration in the independent original script, because tyranny thrives where literacy dies. We live in an empire where elites lie, judges stall, and truth is doled out in teaspoon portions unless you pry it from their cold, manicured hands. Virtue isn't comfort. It's choosing to stand in the fire and not blink. Bongino standing in it, Maxwell may be lighting matches, parents are rediscovering their backbone, and Cursive is the faint heartbeat of a civilization not quite dead. So here's my final thought, guys. If you're tired of being lied to, write the truth. If you're sick of chaos, build order at your kitchen table. And if you want to raise free people, start with a little ink and a lot of love, and I don't know, maybe a community in Arkansas if you're not a black or Jew or gay. Our household's out. We got 1 of 3. Hey, if you haven't yet, subscribe to our Founding Flavors coffee, exit through the Grift Shop. That funds the fight. It caffeinates the counterculture, and it tastes like liberty. Don't you love the smell of liberty in the morning, guys? Exit through the Grift Shop at forlibertyshop.com. I'm Austin Petersen. Be bold, be loud, be inconvenient, and never stop writing history, even if they try to erase it. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you right back again here tomorrow on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Bye, guys.
Legend has it, back in 1773, a band of angry, overtaxed patriots stormed a British ship, found the king's favorite tea, and said, "This would taste better without the tyranny." Then they tossed it overboard. Fast forward to today. That revolutionary spirit lives on in Boston Harbor Black, the boldest brew in the For Libert tea lineup. It's dark, it's smooth, it's unapologetically American.